Welcome back to Axis Anime. My name is Henshin Ikeda, so I'll be doing a walkthrough review of Blast of Tempest episode 12. Now, if you remember from last episode, we see Tetsume break the bad news to Seimin over the phone. Now, apparently, his investigation did not go well as planned, and he basically had nothing to show for it. There is no killer amongst the Kusarabi clan. Plain and simple. Now, Muaharo actually started to side with Seimin, but not anymore. After hearing this bad news, he doesn't know what to think of Seimin. Plain and simple, Seimin, you're not coming through. Even Seimin is stunned. Now, Muaharo's also stunned because didn't Hokage basically point out that the killer of Aki was actually a Kusarabi clan member? So what does that mean? Well, we don't know. Apparently she's not as almighty and all-powerful as she said she is. Or maybe, or just maybe, this killer has gotten through the little cracks. So this killer hasn't been discovered yet. Plain and simple. Now moving on past that toward the end of the episode, we do find out Hokage is still looking for the offering that Seimin hid on the island to get back to the future. So she's still looking for it. And again, that was last episode, and this is a new episode, so let's dive right in. And again, I'll hold my final thoughts and my rating at the end of the clip, so stay tuned. But let's dive right in. Now we open up this scene with actually seeing the Navy finally taking a good, strong hit toward the barrier. It looks like the Navy was about to take out one of the barriers, and then we see what appears to be a sinkhole in the sea, or something like that, where the water is draining out, but a tree appears. Now at first I thought it was a fruit, but no, I was wrong. It is a tree. I believe it's the tree of Genesis that's appearing out of this hole in the water. So again, that's where we open up at. Moving on past that, we are taken to a different scene with Hokage. Now apparently Hokage is talking to Muaharo through her communicator, and basically she's telling Muaharo that she has been chosen to represent humanity, and at the same time she's also been chosen to decide when actually the right time to revive the tree is going to be set at. So I was like, well, first of all, what? You weren't chosen to represent humanity. Who the hell who chose you? Who? The tree of, the tree of Genesis? Because last time I checked, you have to be part of humanity to pick someone out to represent humanity. I'm sorry, I'm just confused with that. I'm like, really? Very naive. That's all I can say. That is a naive response. But I'm just putting that out there. But sorry, I digress. Moving on. Now, we do see Hokage after she's done with her little speech and dialogue. She's still found looking for the offering that Seimin hid on the island. So she still has yet to find it. So I'm like, yep, go figure. But moving on past that, she is still defending the Tree of Genesis. And I don't know why, but she's still defending the Tree of Genesis. Just thought I'd put that out there. Now we are taken to a different scene with Seimin. Now he is trying to point out what he thinks Hokage is not going through, but like his rebuttal, if that makes sense. He basically he says out loud, or at least I believe he says this out loud, that Hokage is blind in her faith. I'm like, yeah, I can see that. She is blind. She's being a little naive. Just a little. But who wouldn't? I mean, just putting that out there. But again, she is blind in faith for not seeing the potential threat at hand. So it kind of makes sense. Now, he also goes on to basically say that he doesn't believe this illusion that Hokage believes in. He believes there's got to be more to it. Kind of makes sense. Now, of course, Muaharo, he wants to actually know more about this Mage of the Exodus that was mentioned by Hokage. But we really don't get any closure on the Mage of Exodus in this episode. But we do find out that Seimin in a different scene mentions, this is kind of his bottom line answer. Now Seimin mentions that he can neither confirm or deny the existence of this Mage of the Exodus. I'm like, okay, but then he also goes to say, well, like he can neither confirm or deny the existence of Hokage, because she's the princess of the Tree of Genesis. Kind of makes sense if you really want to follow it that way. Now, we also find out, he points out, even if this Mage of the Exodus does exist, why would they, they're not going to be the killer. I mean, what are the odds that this Mage of the Exodus is going to be the killer? Probably not. I mean, just putting that out there. Even if they find this Mage of Exodus, how are they so sure that this Mage of the Exodus is the killer? They don't. So the odds really aren't in their favor there either. Now moving on to a different scene, now we are taken to Muaharo. Now he's basically not saying, but I should point out, if the Mage of Exodus is a murderer, I was like, okay, wait, he's got a theory. So if a Mage of an Exodus is a murderer, so theoretically the Tree of Genesis is being controlled. I'm like, okay, I follow you just a little bit. See where this goes. He also points out then that person to kill his sister no longer stands. okay, you got something. You're dragging me in slowly. I'm following you. I got what you're saying. But we are taken to a different little scene where we see Seimin, and all I can say is, bam! The hammer's down, man. And he is just owned. After hearing what Muohara had to say about his theory, or his theoretical theory, it has him stunned. He's like, crap, it makes sense. Now we are taken to a different scene. Now it's with Yoshino, and we actually find out that the Tree of Genesis has nothing to do with Aki's death, at least to his knowledge. Right now, this is what Yoshino's come up with, that the Tree of Genesis has nothing to do with Aki's death. So he's very content with what he's come up with, or at least what he's been hearing. It's like, okay. So basically he's implying the Tree of Exodus was largely responsible for Aki's death. Makes sense, in my opinion. Now, that was just enough to sway Muohara back on his side. So, in general, Muohara is kind of iffy. He's not really on Seimin's side, but he's siding more with, well, Hokage and Yoshino at the moment. Now, of course, we are taken to a different scene with Hokage, and she's still checking the island for the offering, so she hasn't given up on that yet, but she tells Seimin, it's over. It's done with. You've been owned by Muohara. It's been pointed out. Come on. You're done. Seimin, you're done. She only needs to find the offering now just to be in the present, so it's that obvious. So she's trying to stall for time, but it's done. Seimin has nowhere to hide. He's got nothing up his sleeves. He's done. Now, of course, we are taking to a different scene with the government, and they're reporting all these trees they're finding everywhere, all over the world. Not just Japan, all over the world. Now, apparently these trees are absorbing metallicized life forms. And then a report actually comes in that these plant-like objects are actually turning all human and man-made objects to ash. I'm like, huh, well, doesn't that suck? I just love how they throw that in there in like the middle of the episode. Really? So it must be the Tree of Genesis. That's all I can come up with right now. That's the tree probably that's doing all of this horrific acts. Now, of course, we are taken to a different scene with Muohara, and he is confused. He's doubting all the results that are being shown to him. Now, we already know he's not on Seimin's side, but he's just very, I don't know, he doesn't know really what to do, but he sees everything for what it is. You know he's going to make the right decision. It's just getting to that right decision is being very confusing. It is. I couldn't even follow it. Really? It was just horrible, but sorry, I digress. Now, again, he is still undecided on what he really wants to do, and Yoshino notices this. He sees everything that's going through Muohara's mind. He's like, he knows exactly what he's thinking to an extent, and Yoshino just wants Muohara to believe in Hokage, believe in the Tree of Genesis, plain and simple. So at least Yoshino is trying to keep Hokage alive. Not so much the Tree of Genesis though, because I don't think he'd give a rat's ass about it, because it's just an object. It's not a person. I mean, it's not Hokage. He's trying to make sure Hokage doesn't die, that she's gonna come to the future and take charge. That's his goal, so he is trying to bring in Muohara a lot closer. Sorry, I digress. Moving on. Now, of course, we are taken to a different scene. Now, we see Hokage, and she's just thinking out loud, more or less. She's trying to think about everything, consume everything that's been said and done, and all I can say is she sees what appears to be a twinkle in the sky while she's thinking everything out. You know, like not a star, but something close to it. And she hears what appears to be like a jet passing by. She runs to the beach shoreline and she sees a missile. It's like, what? So apparently she couldn't find Seimin's offering. So I guess this must be the way of the Tree of Genesis helping her out, because there's the missile, there's her new offering, so she's good to go. So, guess what? Hokage is now transported to the present. She's no longer in the past. She's now in the present. So she's ready. She's good to go. Of course, we are taken to a different scene with Hokage. Just before she's about to transport, she tells Yoshino, put the communicator on my skeleton, set everything up for me. And they're good to go. They're ready. And obviously, she's now transported to, the future. She's now here. So the prison of time has been broken. So, again, I'll say this one more time. The prison of time, which she was in, has now been broken. She's in the future. She's with us presently. That's all that matters. No more of this, let's save Hokage. She's here. It's done with. Ironically, we're taken to a different scene, and we find out she's naked. Her clothes didn't transport with her. They couldn't materialize, so she's naked. And obviously, Yoshino takes off his jacket, puts it on her, and we find out Hokage keeps calling Yoshino a villain, like sarcastically, not realistically. And then she looks at Muharu's like, yeah, Muharu, you're exactly how I thought you'd be. But Yoshino, yeah, you're a villain. Like in a sarcastic manner. I'm like, okay, make a sarcastic joke about someone that's actually trying to cover your nudity. Okay, fine. But she reaches down in Yoshino's jacket and she finds there's a handgun. So that was kind of interesting, because if you remember correctly, Mrs. Yamamoto was the one that gave, well, technically she didn't give Yoshino a handgun. Technically Yoshino asked for Mrs. Yamamoto's handgun. So that's how technically Hokei's got the handgun from the jacket. Now we know where it came from. But what's she going to do with it, we don't really know. Of course, we are taken to a different scene with Muharu, and he wants Yoshino to not spit up, give me the information about who Aki's boyfriend is. Like, crap, the shit's hit the fan, man. Now what are you going to do, Yoshino? Because, Muharu's come to collect the information. Now, just before he's about to say who, the boyfriend is, Yoshino's about to say who it was, or it looks like he was about to. There's a rumbling, there's an earthquake, and then we find out Tetsume, I guess he's reporting that the Tree of Genesis is now initiating a full-on assault. I'm like, what? Really? Didn't see that coming. No, I really didn't. Apparently, it's initiating an assault into the barriers. So the Tree of Genesis is attacking the barriers right now. It's making a move on its own. I didn't really see this coming. No, I didn't. But moving on past that, we do find out Tetsume is trying to kind of contact Seimin, and Seimin's trying to give him orders. And again, Tetsume has no orders, doesn't know what to do, and it looks like the roof collapses on him, so we don't know if Tetsume is alive or not. So that's kind of a scratch on the head. Is he alive? Is he dead? We don't know. Moving on past that, we do find out the Tree of Genesis is now attacking the Tree of Exodus. So a tree-on-tree battle. Who would have thunk? Just putting that out there. And we find out the Tree of Genesis is eating the Tree of... So the Tree of Genesis is eating the Tree of Exodus. Aren't they vegetarians, technically? Yeah, don't mean to point the fingers, just putting that out there. But again, we are taken to a different scene. Now, we do find out Hokei's is trying to offer her handgun. The handgun she now has, she makes an offering. And at the same time, she's talking to Seimin, kind of. And she's also asking for Muharu to give up the talisman that he has. And of course, he does. Now, we are taken to a different scene with Yoshino and Muharu. They are attacked by, it looks like the Tree of Genesis. I could be wrong, but they were attacked. And it looks like they're dead. And I could not believe it. I'm like, really? They're dying. They're dead. That was a shocker. I didn't see it coming. Of course, we are taken to a brief cutscene with Natsumori and Mrs. Yamamoto. They're trying to defend off the tree that's attacking them. Now, Mrs. Yamamoto basically points out, if we live through this, we have some stuff to talk about. And we do find out Natsumori finally gives his name up to Miss Yamamoto. And I don't think he's going to agree with that, but that's where we're at there. And of course, toward the end of the episode, we do find out Hokei's is trying to heal Yoshino while she orders Seimin to heal Muharu. And again, that's where the episode ends. Now, moving on to final thoughts. Is Muharu and Yoshino done? Are they dead? We don't know, but they're being healed. That's all that matters. Moving on to Hokei's. Are you really going to hunt down the killer of Muharu's sister? We don't know, but I can't wait to find out. That's all I can say. As for Seimin, wow, man, you're just whipped. That's all I can say. He's now taking every single order from Hokei's now that she's here. Now, moving on to Tetsume. We really don't know if you're alive or dead yet, but I can't wait to find out in the next episode. And as for Hashimore, we don't know where you're at right now because you have vanished at the end of the episode. So that's where we're at there. And of course, let's move on to the final rating. I've got to give this a 4 out of 5. I was definitely feeling it. They're drama-wise, not so much. We finally got a little more information, kind of. Hokei's is here. That's what we were waiting for. The fights, really, there wasn't any fights. I should give this a 3.5 out of 5. But you know what? Final rating, 4 out of 5. And again, that ends it for my walkthrough and review with Blast of Tempest Episode 12. But definitely comment down below, let me know. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Definitely subscribe. Check me out on Twitter and follow me if you like. But again, that ends it for now. But definitely let me know what you thought of this episode, and let me know what you thought of the next episode that's going to be coming out. But again, guys, I gotta go. I gotta hit the bricks. And before I go, I always say it, and I have to say it. You can't stop the access, but you can watch the feed. I'll see you later, guys.